Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to another recap and review of Y: The Last Man. We're now to episode 9 titled Peppers. Before we go into it, please make sure you like this video if you end up enjoying it. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new here. We keep up with all the new movies, TV shows, and all that great stuff. But let's get into episode 9. This will be a longer recap. I'll give us my ratings at the end, but let's get into it. So episode 9 begins with this quick start. We see 355 running through somewhere. She starts to have flashbacks of her childhood memories. She goes in and out, and that's how it begins. We then go to the ex-convicts, and we see Sonia trying to explain to Man and Yorick that they have parties every Saturday because to make up for the parties that they missed. 355 shows up and Yorick notices that she's like kind of groggy and says that she should be resting. She kind of just shoves him off and says that this place is probably safe since female ex-convicts are less likely to be dangerous. So then they all sit down. No Scrubs by TLC, if you know that song, starts to begin. And Yorick asks 355 to dance, and they start dancing together. So at this moment, I thought it was really cringe, the whole dancing scene. Just some of the line delivery by especially 355 and some of the other characters were just cringe. Seeing Yorick dance, and I don't know. I think because I thought last episode was so bad, I just thought this was sort of like a bad beginning for this episode. But as you'll see as I recap this, it does get a lot better this episode. But in the beginning, I sort of had my nuances, and I just thought it was sort of a cringe, a lot of it. We didn't see one of the convicts named Dominic go up to Sonia and say that Yorick can make money by having sex with people. You know, she sort of like jokingly suggests it. But this is something I first thought of when it's like, you have all this woman and there's only one man left. They're probably all fiending for something. So making some sort of profit off of him is just what my brain went to. Obviously, it's a very dark place to go. But I'm happy that someone acknowledged it in the show, because it is something that someone would obviously think of when you first hear of this concept. But then we see Dr. Man confront Dominic and kind of asking her what her problem is and if she's into Yorick as well. Dominic sort of realizes that Man's probably coming on to her, but like in some sort of aggressive way. And she calmly just introduces herself to Man. This will obviously blossom into some relationship as we see by the end of this episode. And probably into the next episode as well. We then see 355, she's making a sandwich. Sonia shows up. She has the tracking device that 355 used to have. 355 tries to play dumb, but Sonia says that she's not intimidated by her. She suggests that they both have feelings for Yorick, but Sonia is able to actually say that she likes Yorick, while 355 is really not able to confront her feelings for Yorick yet. But then Yorick appears, and her and Sonia go off together. And then right after that, 355 has another flashback of defusing a bomb under the guidance of this mysterious Fran character who was her recruiter, right? We finally get to see what she looks like in this episode through these flashbacks. Now we cut to Hero, who's walking to his old factory. There's like this weird marketplace that's outside that like worships men. They promote men, they have arts of men, they have recordings of voices of men where I guess people could shop or listen. Sort of like this museum of men that's outside. It looks like Hero is sort of like, not stalking the place, but what's the word I'm looking for? She's doing like a recon for like the Amazon. She tells Athena that there are 3 armed women, but that is it, so this place could easily be taken over. Athena relays this information back to the Amazons, who are now all on horseback. Roxanne says that these people need to pay for their men worshipping, and they'll take everything that they have. Roxanne also insists that Nora should join them and gives Nora a bat. The Amazons rush into this men worshipping place. They destroy everything. They take what they want. Nora tries to prevent mayhem. She tells Athena to stop, and she accidentally calls her Laura. And then Athena's like, my name is Athena, right? Because as we saw in the, like episode 4 or 5, Laura makes that transformation into Athena. This different persona, as we see that Hero will probably take over soon, I'm guessing as well, as she slowly becomes one of the Amazons. Then in the same place, but now in the factory, we see Roxanne's destroying some sort of sound equipment with a golf club. Nora confronts her, saying that she shouldn't have gotten everyone riled up, because now they have nothing. So then Mackenzie show up, which is Nora's daughter, and Roxanne sort of follows her out, leaving Nora alone. And now we come back to DC. If you guys notice, I think this is the first episode where we get every single story in one episode. You know, we have Hero's story, we have Yorick's story in 55, we go back to the Pentagon. We're kind of hitting all the storylines in this one episode, which is what I enjoyed. I think when it's just the Hero stuff, it doesn't work as well. But when you have all these mixed in together, it could be a good episode, which by the end, I do think it was good. I'll tell you guys my real thoughts on it after. But let's continue. As we go back to DC, we see General Reed, Regina, and Kimberly all discussing how Reed no longer wants to be a part of Brown's association. She wants to cut ties with Brown since she believes that, you know, she had some part to play in killing those pilots. We also see Regina pleading with Kimberly, saying that she needs her help. Kimberly is obviously still distraught by her mother's passing. So Regina leaves Kimberly alone, and Kimberly sort of contemplates this broken piece of glass on the floor, which we see she will use later on in this episode. And then underneath the Pentagon, we have another storyline that I forgot about. We have Beth, who's talking to her companions about how Brown is upholding this broken system and needs to be taken down, and the only way to do that is to destroy it. So they set up a bomb in the station, and then they leave. We then cut to President Brown, who's talking to Christine. Christine reveals that she's pregnant. Before Brown can really go into it with Christine, two soldiers appear and say that Brown needs to come to the war room. So up to this point in the episode, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I wasn't liking the episode. I thought it was sort of the same old sort of stuff going on. You know, you have Yorick and 355 stuff going on. 355 is having flashbacks. Yorick and Sonia are having this relationship. Hero and Roxanne, they're doing like their anti-man stuff or whatever. And a lot of it just felt like, all right, we're up to episode 9. Can the shit start to hit the fan, right? Thankfully, it does. I think this next scene, once it appears, that's when I started to get more invested into the episode. But I will say that up until then, I was pretty bored and it felt a lot of the same. So now Brown and Christine enter the war room where where Kimberly's leading the way, and Regina, they confront her about Yorick, saying that she's been lying to everyone. Kimberly says that Brown pretty much killed her mother and has been lying to us the whole time. I said that Kimberly was going to use this against her, that she was going to think that Brown played some part in making Marla feel insane, and that's why she killed herself. Kimberly obviously uses that card now, and it helps influence the other members of the association of her presidency to turn against her. Kimberly also urges Christine to come clean, but Christine doesn't really budge or say anything. But then Brown confesses that Yorick was brought to D.C., right, and that he is alive. This is brought with some shock and disappointment from her cabinet members. But she tries to explain that she sent him to Harvard with 335 and Mann to further experiment on him to figure out, how he did survive and what they can do with that. Jennifer's cabinet, like I said, is shocked and disappointed. And Brown says that she was trying to protect everyone. General Reed sort of steps in and says that the pilots were either killed under her orders or 355 went rogue. But either way, Brown has obviously lost control. Regina says that Brown will be placed in protected custody. And the rest of the cabinet members sort of reluctantly agree, saying that this is the best course of action. But before they can even do that, the bomb goes off in the station that Beth planted. So Beth and the rest of her group, they storm the Pentagon. They sort of tie everyone up and separate them into groups. President Brown recognizes Beth under her mask, but she doesn't say anything. So then we come back to the Amazons, who are enjoying their food, enjoying all of their rewards that they just stole from these people, right? Nora learns, she overhears that Hero killed her boyfriend. Nora sort of just warns Hero not to tell Roxanne any more secrets. Then we cut back to the Pentagon, where Brown sort of urges her group not to tell anyone about Yorick. And they say that Regina's going to tell, everyone anyway. But she says that it's her word against ours if they're with her. So then one of Beth's companions, I think her name was Malika, she sort of asks who's in charge. She smacks Kimberly in the process because she's trying to tell the army or whoever's protecting the Pentagon to come in, that they have guns or whatever. So Malika slaps her. Brown steps up and says that she's in charge. But then Regina sort of says that she's in charge, and we see that there's some sort of fight for power that's going on, right? Malika is obviously aggravated about this. She shoots her gun in the air. And then they burn everything in the war room, including all the evidence that Yorick even exists, which is probably going to become really important. So they all start making their way to the Pentagon. Regina is still ranting about how she should be in power. She then says that Jennifer's son is still alive and that 2 soldiers were killed under her orders. Malika then shoots Regina in the head, killing her. Malika throws up. She tells Beth to hide the body, and then says that Brown is going to be next. And then Beth says that nobody was supposed to get hurt in all this, but then Malika says that this stuff happens when change needs to happen. So then we get a small scene between Sonia and Yorick. They're on the couch talking. Sonia explains how when they were locked up inside in the prison when everything happened, the women that were in charge, the correction officers, they were scared, so they locked all the prisoners up. Once the prisoners escaped, they were met with guns waiting for them. And then so that's this one little scene. Then we have another little scene between Dr. Mann and Yorick in the bedroom. Pretty much just saying that Mann is going to go bang Dominic, right? So she leaves to go do that. 355 is met with another flashback. In this one, she's breaking down, but Fran, the recruiter, is consoling her, saying that she's doing well. So after this, 355 takes her tracking device, goes down to the river, and smashes it. After this, we go back to the Pentagon, where chaos is happening. There's tear gas. People are being just shot down. Just chaos everywhere. And then Beth and Brown are separated from Christine and Kimberly. So then we go and see Christine and Kimberly. They're down below. Someone sort of tries to attack them with an axe, or I don't know what she was trying to intimidate them. She hits the pipe. So Kimberly has that piece of glass that she still has, and she stabs the woman, killing her. And then she sort of tells a distraught Christine, she sort of like tells her like, I'm with you, whatever. Feels the baby, tries to comfort her in some way. Then we're now at the end. We see Nora learns from someone who was at that marketplace of men that there is a man near Boston with a bodyguard. She tells Nora that he's in a place with electricity and that they're not far from where they are now. Nora relays this information back to Roxanne, saying that they should find him, and they show her a picture of Yorick, this kind of like bad drawing of Yorick. And then the last scene, back at the Pentagon, we see Beth giving Brown her coat. She asks about Yorick, and Brown sort of confirms with a head nod that Yorick is still alive. So that's how the episode ends. I know that was a lot. I'm sorry for such a long recap, but there was a lot to cover in this. Even some of the smaller scenes will probably be important. Well, I mean, maybe not. I mean, the show's canceled now, right? I don't think anything is really too important. Unless it gets picked up, which I've said before that I don't think it will get picked up by another network, but I did say we're going to ride this out. So here's my rating for the episode right now. I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it was a pretty solid episode. Towards the second half, I liked it a lot more than that first half. First half, like I said, felt a lot of the same. Didn't really care too much about what happened. And I think my main problem with the show right now in this episode is that in the back of my mind, I just always know that it's canceled, you know, and like this stuff is probably we're not going to see the payoff for this. It's not going to matter. So I mean, if the show wasn't canceled, I think maybe I would have liked the show a little bit more. I mean, not the show, the episode a little bit more, because for the show overall, I don't know how you guys are feeling. Please let me know down below if you guys are still on board with the show, if you're still invested in this episode, or if you're like me and you just felt, you know, like it doesn't matter. I mean, the show's canceled. Like, why am I even? Not that I'm still watching it, but I'm just so disappointed with the way this show went. Really, I mean, just the first couple episodes were so good. I thought the show was great. Seems so different, seems so unique. But I mean, just to see where it all leads to, I mean, although predictable, and it kind of, this episode leads to maybe a cool conclusion with Roxanne now going after Yorick, could lead to this big confrontation. But we're also in the first season. I heard that this show wanted 6 seasons, so I don't think the season 1 finale would be anything too epic, too great. But it just sucks that the show is canceled because I just don't feel like this episode matters at all. But that's just my thoughts on this episode. I mean, honestly, for an episode 9, you know, episode for the series finale, it's pretty solid. It does what it needs to do. It gives me some sort of interest for that last episode. As we see, you know, chaos at the Pentagon. The Pentagon was stormed, this transition of power. A lot of cool stuff going on. I just have this disconnection from the show right now. And I don't know if that's probably maybe personally just me. I don't know if you guys feel that way. But let me know down in the comments below if you guys enjoyed this episode, if you liked it. How are we feeling the temperature as a whole? Like I said, are we still on board with what's going on? Or do we just not care? Do you think it's going to get picked up by another network? I honestly don't think so, but it definitely could. I just think that there's too much baggage and talk, like I said in that canceled video, for another show to take all that on. I just don't see them doing that. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it, and please make sure to subscribe for new. And like always, have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you all in the next video.